This loser is Song Ji-han, our protagonist. His life is a total disaster. First, he got an F class. His niece also got an F class. And if that's not enough, her damned father, the most powerful person in Korea, abandoned her. And even that scoundrel also abandoned his country and went to another country, which made her commit suicide. But wait, one day our protagonist obtained an SSS rank skill called Divine Arts, and he ranked 7th globally. Here he thought that life gave him her beautiful face, but in reality it was her damned ass, as his country, Korea, had been completely wiped out by monsters, and he was the only survivor. So he decided to go to another country, but he was treated as just a useful hunting dog. And if that's not enough, there is more. Humanity lost the war against monsters, and the rulers decided to erase humanity. But a mistake occurred, and our protagonist wasn't erased, and the rulers decided to give him a chance again by returning him to the past. So let's see what our protagonist will do this time. But before that, don't forget, like and subscribe. After that, our MC woke up from the sound of his television. His head was still aching from his hangover. Song Ji-han was still confused. The last thing he remembered was that the Earth was deleted. It took him a few minutes before he realized where he was. He was starting to catch up. Then he went in front of his window and checked his surroundings to confirm his theory. This was South Korea way back in the year 2020. Song Ji-han saw these kids who were imitating the Sword King named Yoon, and the people around them were also talking about playing a game. His eyes brightened up as he realized that he was back. Then he immediately checked his status window. Right now, he is at level 2. This was the same time when he entered his first league. Then Song Ji-han smiled as he thought of something he knew, that he was given a new opportunity, and because he still got the knowledge from his previous life, it will really be an advantage for him. Song Ji-han was determined to change in the future. Then he looked at a family portrait in front of him and thought that he would save everyone this time. Song Ji-han was the only human who saw the end game, and right now, he was back to change the fate of humanity at year 2020. South Korea had a solid standing among the rankers in the world. The top players at that time considered 11 players to be the best, and a certain someone protects the third place. This person was able to defeat multiple rankers in just one strike. It was this man, the one who wields dual swords. This guy was known to be the Sword King. His name was Yoon Se-jin. He was also the reason why South Korea continued to be on top. He was hailed as the treasure of Korea and the strongest warrior in the world. This used to be his title until something happened in July 2020. Yoon Se-jin suddenly announced and changed his nationality. He became a naturalized Japanese citizen. Back to Song Ji-han. This was the same day when Yoon Se-jin gave Korea the greatest shock. Even right now, Song Ji-han was still irritated as he looked at Yoon Se-jin's face. This man was the reason that Korea experienced chaos, and all the news outlets were reporting this development. All the people in Korea right now were voicing their concerns about their status in the leagues. Song Ji-han knew that since the strongest border of Korea left, they were now in shambles. Some of the reporters still made a positive note, thinking that they still have a lot of powerful rankers left, and things will still be fine. But that was the kind of mindset that failed their country. No one has ever appeared to replace the pillar that Yoon Se-jin left. RNC thought that Korea would have been fine if they just had more time. But that was not the case because the BattleNet was too brutal. The BattleNet started as just a game. But it all changed as the Space League came into place in just 2 years. This mere game was turned into the survival of the fittest. Once a player loses his life in this game, they will also die in real life. Monsters also started coming in countries that fell on the lower ranks. This was really a one-sided story. Weaker nations couldn't do anything about this disaster, and since Korea fell in rankings badly, they also met the same fate. The country was destroyed, and those who survived thought about one thing. If Yoon Se-jin stayed in Korea, it would have been a different story. That's how this man affected their nation. The Sword King also happened to be Song Ji-han's brother-in-law. Since he was furious with Yoon Se-jin, he destroyed the portrait that was in front of him. He still wonders how her sister fell in love with this man. Then he thought of things would have been different if she was alive. After that, Song Ji-han thought of facing what's really important, and he realized that his current stats were too weak, Song Ji-han was not really surprised to see this because back then, all he did was to gamble and drink. He knew that he was really too foolish in the past. He even didn't know the true power of the gift that he had in this world. Everyone becomes a player as soon as they turn 18 years old, but there were only a small number of players who received gifts. Song Ji-han's gift was considered to be an F rank. That's why he used it on different kinds of stuff. This one even used it to predict matches, and he was embarrassed because he really didn't know any better. The true power of his gift was just revealed when it was awakened. But among his low stats, one thing bothered him. He was thinking how ended up leveling up to level 2. Song Ji-han was kinda disappointed as he remembered how this went. Then he saw a bottle of experience potion along with his alcoholic drinks. He might have drank this potion while he was in his drunken state. Song Ji-han also noticed something. He got 100,000 achievement points, and he wondered where he got this. These points were deemed to be not useful, as they were not worth any money, but it still puzzled him. Then he checked his inventory, and he was shocked upon seeing something, an achievement points exchange coupon, and it was an X-type. This is a reward he got from being the last survivor. Song Ji-han was quite amazed, as he figured that this one was just for him. And since he was too curious, he chose to use the coupon. Then the system informed him that he had unlocked an achievement store, and these were the current things he could buy. Song Ji-han attempted to upgrade his choices because none of the current ones were useful to him, but it still didn't have useful things. Then Xiong upgraded it to level 3, but he was still unlucky, and now he has only 50,000 points, and the next upgrade would cost him 40,000 points. It was getting more expensive as the level higher. Xiong weighed his choices. He could either gamble this or buy all the available items that were shown to him right now. But since this one was an innate gambler, he chose to upgrade the store. Then he got this option called Urgent Restoration. This skill will allow him to repair any faulty item to a perfect state. Seeing this skill made our Xiong's face pond. This was the reason he gambled. He thought that it was really worth it when he strikes the jackpot. Then Xiong proceeds to enter his fingerprint on this room, and the door opened as he was recognized as a family member. This room was Yoon Sejin's playing room, and it was equipped with the latest technology. Then Xiong smiled because the security allowed him to go inside, even if the owner of this place was not here anymore. After that, Xiong used his access and opened the inventory of the BattleNet connector. The item he was after was this Dom Feng Shu's spoiled brush. This was in a rank item, but not useful as it was broken. Then he used his newest skill called Urgent Restoration. His skill quickly activated towards this item, and after a few seconds, the repair was complete. Xiong smiled as he reached for this item, Dong Feng Shu's brush, and it turned into a double S rank item as soon as it was repaired. This one holds the link to the martial god. This item reacted as soon as Xiong held it. Then he disturbed as a notification told him that the tutorial for the Gangnam Bronze League will start. Xiong knew that he didn't have much time left, so he quickly called his status window and he used the brush and did something with his stats. He remembered that this was the reason why he became the 7th ranked player in the world and got the title Martial Saint. Xiong was now currently combining his basic stats and was turning them into this unique stat. He kept on using this mysterious brush to obtain the martial power he had last time. And this broken item was also the reason he became awakened, and right now he was repeating the same process. His basic stats were starting to become the same value, but his time was also running out, and the stats blurred out at the last second. As soon as the timer reached 0, Xiong was logged into the BattleNet League. His main mission this time was survival. This task requires them to survive inside the Coliseum along with 100 players and monsters, and the game will end once half of the players are eliminated. Xiong had no more time to prepare himself, and he was transported along with players who were much higher in levels than him. He also panicked because he still had no idea if his awakening was complete, but as he checked his status window, he saw that his stats were combined into one. He succeeded. This was his current status window right now. And since he got this unique stat, the system granted him 10,000 achievement points. Xiong smiled because he was glad to see this familiar feeling again. This unique stat will lead him towards getting the nameless divine art again. He also knew that the Bronze League would now be easier, but suddenly the system warned him that he logged in without a battle connector. This means that he will experience 100 of the pain in the game. Seong sighed as he remembered this feature. It was more like a pay-to-win kind of thing. Those with money will lessen the pain they could feel inside the game. And the only person he knew that reduced the pain up to 99% was Yoon Sejin. This was because he got all the latest technologies. Seong thought that he will use this connector later on, as he got access on Yoon Sejin's room. The system also gave Seong a limited quest. All he needed to do was to achieve number 1 in the tutorial. The reward will be 1,000 achievement points. Seong smiled as he knew that there was nothing like this in the past. And this will also be a piece of cake as he got the martial power now. Then the game started, but as soon as all the players were notified by this, a player appeared behind Seong and was about to attack him. This player laughed as he said his farewells to this apparent newbie. But his expression changed as he noticed something. His blade was stopped by 2 fingers. Seong remembered the feeling that made this game really enjoyable, and that was the feeling of killing other players. Then he looked at him like a wolf that had found its prey, saying, "Thanks for the first kill." Then Seong flicked his fingers, and this made that player tumble. And Seong praised the player for his confidence in participating in the Bronze League, even with that kind of gift. The player got furious as he heard his gift being mocked. But Seong continued to look at him with pity. This triggered his anger and started getting serious, and he was about to go all out. Seong knew what his opponent was up to. Seong thought he was still faster than the player, but he was still caught off guard as this guy appeared in front of him in a swift move. Seong managed to dodge this attack. Then this newbie continued to strike Seong, but his efforts were all wasted. And while Seong was busy dodging this guy, he figured out that he was having a hard time adjusting with this lower stat body. Luckily, the trajectory of attacks were too simple and obvious. Seong could see all of this guy's movements, and the last strike was proven to be useless as he was just slapped by Seong. Just with this simple slap, guy's hands were shaking. Then Seong used this opportunity to catch the sword that guy lost, and before this newbie could react, Seong put the sword to his neck, and he has defeated this player with just 1 swift strike. Then the player promised that he will take his revenge the next time he faces him. Then Seong sighed as this was a good times where people will be revived after being killed in the battle net. After that, the system granted Seong 100 achievement points for getting the first kill in this mission. But his weapon disappeared because it was from the player he defeated. Then he checked his surroundings. All he needed to find his next opponent to secure his standings in this league. And as expected, no one has gone towards the monsters. This was natural, because each monster could only equate to 0.1 points. Most people would turn their backs and avoid them. Even Seong knew that it was not really worth it fighting these ones, but something changed his mind. A quest that required him to defeat all the orcs appeared. This one offers 500 points. This was way more than the first kill he got, and that gave him enough reason to face these monsters. Then Seong smiled because these ones were nothing like the real orcs that he faced from his previous life. Then his happy expression changed as he started to go towards the orcs. His martial power allowed him to get this early speed boost. The orcs saw his fast movements and started to panic. A single human was now charging towards a mob of orcs. They thought that he was crazy, and since it was only one human, they charged at him without fear. Then 2 axes were thrown towards Seong, but he easily caught them. Then he taught the orcs the proper way to throw these weapons. 1 strike from Seong made them cower in fear, but he was not done yet. He proceeds to defeat them one by one, and with 1 swing of his axe, the orcs' heads flew into the air. Seong also placed himself in the middle of the orcs. This was a perfect position to defeat them faster. Seeing this, all the orcs tried to kill him, but Seong already knew their attack patterns, and he easily deflected each attempt. On top of that, he was also able to reduce their numbers. Then one of the orcs used a spear trying to kill Seong, but he avoided the spear, grabbed it with 1 hand and broke it. The orc opened his mouth. He was surprised. This gave Seong enough time to counterattack. He was also annoyed because these orcs were too noisy. Then he waved his axe at the orc, and the orc tried to intercept the axe with the remaining part of the spear. But suddenly, Seong's axe shattered and flew to the ground. And he also advised them to carry better weapons next time because these feeble ones don't suit them. The orcs saw that Seong's weapon got broken and it alerted everyone. Once again, they rushed towards him, but this annoyed Seong even more. Then he stomped his foot, and it created a small crater on the ground. The force of the impact was enough to make these monsters lose their balance, and this was also a perfect chance to finish this quest. Seong proceeds on bombarding these ones with slashes, and the orcs were too weak to compete with his speed. More and more orcs were being eliminated. Seong was even using 2 weapons. Now he really got used to these. Then he threw the spear towards these monsters, and it was more than enough to penetrate right through these orcs. And the only orc left was shocked and terrified, and the orc thought that their opponent right now was not a human. And without delay, Seong eliminated him with 1 wave. At that moment, the quest was completed, and this gave Seong 500 points. And he also leveled up. This was weird because experience points were usually being calculated at the end of the game. Seong didn't question this much as it was really not a bad thing. Then he checked his status window to find a stat to spend his points with, and the one that was expected to be noticed was a martial power. This one was the combination of strength, agility, and stamina. This stat doubles the effect of the basic ones once he was able to reach 30 stat points in this martial power. Seong could get his access to nameless divine arts again. Then he tried giving the level of point towards the martial power, and it worked. This confused him because no one could increase this one this easily. Back then, he needed to be a well-rounded warrior before he could increase this one battle experience, and training were required. Then he smiled because for some reason this will make his progress even faster, but his thoughts were disrupted as an archer sent out an arrow towards him. Seong dodged this with ease, and the arrow was from these 2 players who were impressed how Seong managed to escape his death. Then these 2 players decided to finish this battle quickly. Seong thought that maybe these 2 teamed up, although this map was intended to be a PvP style, but players were still allowed to form teams. On top of that, these 2 were from the Turtle Guild, one of the top 10 guilds in Korea. But suddenly, the system notified all the players that there were only 60 players left, and this game was about to end. Then Seong thought that if he would just dodge these attacks, he would surely survive this game. But he saw these 2 disregarding him, so he checked the scoreboard. Right now, he has 4 kills in his Urquhart, and he still got the top spot. But this was not enough to hold this position, since he wanted to make sure that he gets the top spot. And at that moment, this archer tried reloading her bow with an arrow while mocking Seong. But her attempt was futile because she got struck. Seong eliminated this archer in an instant. The other player quickly turned his attention towards Seong. He was shaking in fear and anger as her crush killed easily, but Seong didn't waste any more time and proceeded to approach him. He struck his sword against this guy's armor, but since this guy was being backed by a top guild, his equipment was more durable than the normal one. He even bragged about it and told Seong that he will never pierce through his armor. But this proved to be wrong as Seong struck the same spot multiple times. This created a crack that eventually destroyed the armor of the warrior. Seong was kinda annoyed because these players still managed to flirt around. They didn't know what was about to happen. Then a loud scream was heard within the Coliseum. Meanwhile, these 2 ladies were just staring at their screen. They were watching a recording of the game. This lady was surprised at the development she watched. She was Lee Han, the 3rd Division head of the Divergent Guild. She was currently talking with her bodyguard, Lim Gayung. She told her that she was quite relieved because game didn't face the strange player. The final scoreboard showed that Song got 6 kills and she got 4. This annoyed her because her boss thought that if she faced Song, she would have lost. But seeing her bodyguard angry, Hyeon got her statement back and told her bodyguard that she could easily defeat Seong. These 2 also planned to fight Seong so they could get more information about him and his fighting style gang. Then she continued to watch how Seong defeated those high-level players from the Turtle Guild. As she was watching, she swore that this man was kind of familiar. Lim Ga-young was a talent from Divergent Guild. She possessed a powerful talent that exceeds the normal players. She was also known for possessing an S-rank gift, and she was among the top players of Divergent. Her performance in the last Bronze League lived up to everyone's expectation. Many of them even thought that she'll get first place, but that changed it as Seong appeared and overtook her top spot. The scout from the Turtle Guild also can't believe this development because their representatives were eliminated. Everyone got their attention towards this mysterious level 2 player who managed to rank first in the scoreboard. They now wonder the real identity of this player. Meanwhile, at this tall building, Seong was inside and checked the scoreboard to confirm his ranking. He got a 50 experience boost from getting the top spot, and his level also rose up to level 6. Seong was delighted because he got so many levels. He was enjoying being a rookie player. With all points he got from leveling up, he put them all on martial power. This increased its stat from 6 to 9. He also got a new nickname called Tutorial Conqueror. This will give him +1 to all attributes and 20% more experience boost in Bronze League, even though this will only benefit him in the early game. He was still glad to have this boost. This was the current status window of Seong. 10 martial power points was already enough to dominate the Bronze League. The requirement on promoting to the Silver one was that the players should be level 25 and above. And while he was scanning his status window, Seong got surprised as he saw something. He noticed that he now has the chance for class advancement. This perk was given when players reached level 5. This class advancement was a really important phase in a player's journey. The classes include the Archer class, Mage class, Support class, and the Warrior class. In his previous life, Seong chose the Warrior one, and since he had already gone through the Warrior class, this will give him more advantage to master more of it. But Song knew that he could still get another class by buying it in the achievement store, so he thought that this was really a game-breaking chance. He could learn 2 classes now since he could easily add the Warrior class in the future. Seong was eager to choose the other ones. After a while, the next mission started. The system welcomed all the players for the Bronze League of the Gangnam area. Right now, the theme of the mission was defense. Players were summoned on the top of these towers. They have 2 goals players will need to protect the crystal and survive amidst all of these zombies. One player was now already summoned in the game. It was none other than Lim Ga-young. This lady was with the Warrior class. She thought that even inside the game, these zombies still looked horrible. Then 2 bright lights appeared behind her. It summoned 2 more players. These 2 started to find out information about their mission. She quickly checked her teammates for this mission. The Archer was from the LK group and has a B grade gear, and the Mage doesn't have a particular guild, but his equipment was quite impressive. But she still waits for the final player, the one that will do the most work for this map. Then a bright light appeared in. This was for the support player. This map will be a long-drawn fight, so the support's assistance will really be important. But she saw something that confused her. The one from the support class was none other than Seong Jian.